Story 1. So there I was, right? Minding my own business, cruising the aisles of the party store, trying to make my little dude Luke's 7th birthday, the soccer-themed extravaganza he'd been dreaming about for weeks. I had everything in the cart: soccer ball plates, goalpost napkins, and, of course, the piece de resistance, a dazzling 7 candle that practically screamed, "Happy birthday, soccer superstar." Now, let me give you a quick lowdown on Luke. He's this pint-sized tornado of energy with a heart as big as the soccer field he dreams of conquering. Kid's obsessed with the number 7, claims it as his lucky charm because it's the jersey number he rocks on his soccer team. So, naturally, when I found this awesome candle, I thought, jackpot! Now, cue the entrance of Karen. You know the type, the self-proclaimed masters of the universe, entitled beyond belief. So there I am, strolling down the aisle with Luke, candle in hand, when Karen and her little sidekick waltz in. Karen had that I own the world look, and her daughter, let's call her Mini Karen, had this kind of sheepish, "I'm sorry I exist" expression. Little did I know they were about to become the antagonists in the soap opera that was my son's birthday party prep. So, Luke's got this candle clutched in his tiny hands, and Karen, out of nowhere, decides she needs it more than he does. Like, seriously, she tells Luke that her precious Mini Karen wants it for her friend. Now, my kid's a trooper. He looks up at her, all cute defiance, and goes, "Nah, lady, this is mine." Karen's face goes from fake smiles to full-on thunderstorm in seconds. She straight up snatches the candle from Luke's hands. My mama bear instincts kick in faster than you can say birthday bash, and I grab her hand. "No more Mrs. Nice Mom. Give it back," I say, trying to keep my cool. But this lady, she's on another level. "He can get another one," she insists, like she's the queen of birthday candles or something. I look her dead in the eyes, my best mom glare on full display. "Return the candle to my son, or you won't love the consequences." Smooth, right? She tries to yank her hand away, but nope, not on my watch. I've got a grip like a bulldog with a bone. "Security," I holler, not letting go. The store echoes with my battle cry, and suddenly, Karen isn't so tough anymore. She's squirming, but I've got her. "Let me go, you crazy lady," she screeches, drama oozing from every pore. I shake my head, unimpressed. Not until my son gets his candle back. Now, Mini Karen is looking like she wants to crawl into a hole and never come out. Good, maybe she'll learn a thing or two about manners from this experience. "Assault," Karen screeches, like I'm the villain in this circus. "You're assaulting me." I roll my eyes so hard, I'm surprised they don't get stuck in the back of my head. "Lady, you snatched a birthday candle from a 7-year-old. Who's the real criminal here?" Security shows up, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. They try to get the scoop, and I lay it out for them. Karen, feeling the heat, starts to backpedal. "I just thought it was cute for Mini Karen's friend, that's all." I cut her off. "Does this look like a candle store for Mini Karen's friends? It's my son's birthday, and that candle is his." Security, not wanting a birthday party showdown in aisle 6, tells Karen to hand it over. But oh no, she's not done. "Fine, take your stupid candle. You people are crazy," she spits out, dropping it on the floor like it's toxic waste. Luke, my little hero, picks it up, a triumphant grin on his face. Security guides Karen and Mini Karen out of the store, and I swear I hear a tiny sorry from the mini-me as they slink away. The store's back to normal, but the story of the great candle caper is already spreading. Some bystanders are giving me the nod of approval, others chuckle as they pass by. Luke's still buzzing from the victory, showing off his candle like it's the World Cup trophy. Story 2. A little backstory. I was flying with my 3-month-old son to Rome to visit my sister and her husband, who were diplomats. This was 1993, so I was given a bulkhead seat with a bassinet for my son. Okay, here we go. I was pre-boarded with my son, so I sat down and got comfortable. I had my son on my lap since he was awake. The rest of the people boarded. Across from me were a mother, our Karen, and her two sons who were approx. 15 and 4 years old. Karen promptly took the window seat and went right to sleep. In front of them was an elderly woman, and behind them were 3 nuns. The flight attendant came through ensuring everyone had their seatbelts on. As soon as she left, Karen's younger kid unbuckled and started running up and down the aisles. The flight attendant came back and told him to sit down and buckle up. So he did. She walked away and he again unbuckled and started running around. The flight attendant reminded him again to sit down. The older kid then says, "You can't tell my brother what to do." So the flight attendant says that if he doesn't remain buckled up, the plane can't leave. They refuse to listen. Another flight attendant comes and says if they don't sit down, they'll need to be removed from the plane. They finally sit down and ask for cups of water, and the flight attendant brings them. The plane then starts to taxi. The 2 kids drink their water and then throw the cups onto the elderly woman in front of them. Then they take the magazines out of the pocket and start ripping them up and throwing them around. Karen has slept through all of this. The elderly woman calls for the flight attendant because she's worried these 2 will hurt my son. Bless her. The kids are now screaming "screw you" at everyone. The plane stops taxiing and now the pilot comes back. He wakes Karen and tells her to get her kids in line or they will be escorted off the plane. She screams, "Leave them alone, they're just kids," and puts her head down again. The pilot has had it at this point, so he goes back to the cockpit to call security. Now, just to clarify, due to how the seats are set up, I am the only one who can see all 3 of this family. Security comes on the plane and says to the woman, "You and your kids need to leave." She loses it. She screams something about how her father is dying in Italy and they need to get there. They tell her, "You need to leave now." And then, I kid you not, she starts smacking herself in the face and screaming. My mouth fell open in shock. The man next to me asks what's going on. I just look at him with my mouth open. I was that shocked. I literally couldn't speak for a while. Karen and her brats are now hauled off the plane, screaming and cursing. The flight finally leaves 1 hour later. It was a lovely flight. My son slept for a while, and when he woke up, the nuns played with him for the rest of the flight. When we landed, my sister was at the gate. Her diplomatic status allowed her past security. After hugs, she asks why we were an hour late. The man who was sitting next to me tells her, "Wait till you hear this story." She saw everything. Story 3. I rented a small house from a man who owned a painting business. The power was off when we came to view the property, but he assured us everything worked and even included it in the contract. The place was dirty and poorly maintained, so we negotiated the security deposit down to $300. It turned out that the heating and air conditioning system didn't work, along with the refrigerator and dishwasher. I asked him to have someone inspect them. He responded with a string of insults. He called and left threatening voicemails. He would show up unannounced and let himself in. During one of these visits, I showed him that the crawl space was flooded and had become a breeding ground for thousands, if not millions, of cockroaches and mosquitoes that would come up through the floor vents. There was absolutely no ductwork, even though he claimed the heating and air conditioning worked fine. He accused me of causing the flood myself, even though I showed him the source was a pipe that had rusted through. He refused to address any problems and said, "If you don't like it, then you can move. You can't pay for a bargain and expect to live in luxury." This man was generally terrible. Once, he hired someone from an online classified ad to cut down a tree in the rental property's yard. The man worked literally all day for the agreed $150, cut up and hauled off the tree. He returned that evening, just standing in the yard. I asked if I could help him. He said he was waiting for the owner to get paid. The owner kept replying, saying he was on the way but never showed up. Our neighbor told us he had punched the previous renter in the face and refused to pay him for a day's work for his company. He had bragged about renting to undocumented immigrants and not having to do anything because they wouldn't sue. We had a newborn baby, so we called his bluff and agreed to find a new place to live. We left the home in much better condition than we found it. He said he would mail us the security deposit, but never did. He dodged my phone calls until one day he called to say, "You aren't getting it back. You broke the contract when you left early, so go away." I was really upset because we were new parents and had very little money. That $300 was a big deal to us and a drop in the bucket for this man. He owned an upscale painting business and had 15 rental properties. The following week, I was online leaving negative reviews for his business when I clicked a link and noticed his website's domain had just expired. I knew what I had to do. I immediately bought it, then created a homepage with contact information for his biggest competitor. I emailed him from his old domain, asking him if he wanted to buy the website for $320, the cost of the security deposit plus the price I paid for the domain. He was furious. He started calling my workplace, threatening to sue my employer. He even contacted my parents and threatened to sue them. He left numerous threatening voicemails for me, saying he was going to harm me physically and that he knows where I live and has my social security number. I received emails from several review sites asking if I was trying to update the contact information for the business. He must have used his old domain's email as his contact email. I didn't want to get in trouble for impersonating his business, so I did not respond. The contact information was never changed. I received a few emails from potential clients. I called him and told him about the painting job requests. I gave him the contact information for one of the clients to prove I wasn't making it up. I told him it was the last time I was going to do that for him and suggested he buy the website back in order to not miss out on any other jobs. He told me he was taking me to court. I told him I had recorded his threatening phone calls and saved all his text and voicemails. He said he was going to sue me for illegally recording him, which is not illegal in my state. I said, "I look forward to seeing you in court where I countersue and press charges for harassing me," and I hung up. He called back and berated me for hanging up on him. I said, "Call me back when you can speak respectfully to me," and hung up again. We repeated this about 5 times. Each time he became more angry until the last time. He spoke respectfully and explained he hadn't received a single job in months. I suggested he focus more on creating a website to find business. He lost his temper and berated me again. 6 months passed, and he still hadn't bought the website from me. I received a call from him, begging me to do the right thing and give him the website back. I told him the current price was $350. 6 months later, I received another phone call. I told him the current price was $380. Eventually, he texted me to say, "I went out of business. I hope you're happy." I responded, "I hear having a website really helps your business. $380 and it's yours." He told me what a terrible person I am and said, "Karma's not kind." I responded, "Maybe if you stopped trying to take advantage of people, your karma wouldn't be so bad." That was the last time I ever heard from him. The major business listing sites confirmed his business did indeed close. I renewed the domain for another 2 years just in case he was bluffing. A few months later, I drove by his office to see if it was still there. It was empty with a "For Rent" sign posted. I never got that $300 back and spent money on domain registrations, but it was totally worth it. Story 4. I was told by a friend of mine that I should post this story here, so here it goes. A while ago, I went to a free concert that was being held at a mall. It was a local rock band that was very popular. Now, to help set the scene up, the stage they played on did not have a gate, so you could go right up to it, and the only security guard there guarded a ramp on the far right side of the stage that allowed people to get on stage. I was standing near the middle of the stage when the show started. After about 5 minutes, I feel myself pushed to the side by 2 Karens, followed by a third guy. I'm guessing a date or the boyfriend of one of the Karens. He looked like he did not want to be there, and watched as they aggressively pushed through another group of people to stand right at the front of the stage, where they began to scream like any fangirl would. Now this is where things get interesting. Partway through the set, I noticed one of the Karens trying to hop up on stage and failing miserably. The stage was close to 6 feet off the ground, and she was 5-0. After 2 more tires, she turns to her male companion and tries to get him to help her, which he refuses. His refusal caused her to stare daggers right at him and literally stomp her feet like an angry toddler. After his second refusal, this Karen grabs her other Karen friend and they both walk up to me. "Excuse me, can you help me get up on stage?" "I don't think that would be a good idea, man." "Oh, come on. It's her last day in the country. She deserves to do something fun." "Please?" "I'm sorry, but I'm not helping you get on stage. You're not part of the band." "Well, screw you then." Both of them push past me and go up to a nice couple standing behind me. Karen asks the guy, "Hey, want to do me a favor and help me get on the stage?" Her friend supports her and says, "We would be very grateful if you did," with a hopeful smile. "It's my last day in the country and I want to do something fun." Before the guy could get a word out, his girlfriend stepped in front of him and said, "Excuse me, please do not try to recruit my boyfriend in your activities. Plus, like the other guy said, you're not part of the show." Both Karens then turned around in a huff and walked back to the front of the stage, and by this time, they noticed that the male companion that was with them had disappeared. Karen tries 2 more times to hop on stage. On one attempt, she almost knocked off a large audio D-box located on stage, which would have disrupted the concert, which for some reason neither the band or stagehand saw. With a look of sheer frustration on her face, she whispers something to her friend, and both go over to the side of the stage with the ramp. Between one of the songs, the Karen friend gets the attention of the stagehand, and while his back is turned, our Karen who wants to hop on the stage darts past the guard up the ramp and onto the stage where she gets ready to dance. People in the crowd booed her, and before the song started she was forced off stage by another stagehand to the ramp. I then hear the girl of the nice couple behind us yell, "Hell yeah, get that witch off the stage." Karen's friend looked at her and yelled back, "Excuse me, what did you say about my friend? Your friend had no right to be on stage." "Yes, she did. They said she could go up there. Plus, it's her last day here, she deserves to go on stage." Nonsense. Karen and her friend were now stage stomping towards the girl, looking like they were ready to fight. However, her boyfriend, who I should mention is 6'1" and looks like he could be a MMA fighter, steps in to block them from reaching his girlfriend while giving them a death glare. He then, in a very deep and angry calm voice, says, "You won't touch her." As I'm watching this unfold, a security officer darts past me and right to Karen who hopped on the stage. The security officer taps on Karen's shoulder. "Excuse me, ma'am, you have been banned from the premises. Come with me now." Her friend then pushes the security officer and says, "Unhand her." The band said that she could go up on stage. "No, they didn't. You're both coming with me." The security officer grabbed their arms and started to pull them away. Both Karens resisted and started hitting the guard while screaming at him to let go. This went on for about 20 more seconds when 2 police officers who I guess were nearby pulled the girls off the security officer and put both into handcuffs. Part of the crowd cheered as they were taken away. Story 5. My grandfather passed away recently, leaving his 3 children, my mom, aunt, and uncle, a massive stack of unorganized inheritance. To give you an idea of how frustrating, tedious, and stressful the whole situation was to deal with, a few of my aunts and uncles have already started drafting their own wills, so their children, my cousins, won't have to argue the way the 3 of them are now. He was well off, but with how scattered his assets were, it was taking a while to get everything sorted. So, what ended up happening is they started with whatever properties were easiest to divide first. My mother didn't receive much initially, but 2 of my older brothers convinced her siblings to give her at least $700,000 in cash, and 2 of our grandfather's older, run-down houses, the one we're currently living in and another nearby. This was because there was still more to be processed, and my mom was losing money faster than she could earn it. My eldest brother, let's call him Archie, 37-year-old male, is unemployed, overconfident, and narcissistic. Nobody really likes being around him. He has a child, and his wife is currently pregnant. Then there's his twin, Ronnie, also 37-year-old male, who turned out to be a more responsible version of Archie. He recently got married and works a well-paying job as a university professor, like our grandfather used to. I have another brother, 19-year-old male, but he's not relevant to this story since he's away studying at college abroad. Archie was my grandfather's favorite grandson because he was very bright growing up. However, Archie only ever spent time with him as a way to get money for whatever it is he does all day. When he realized our grandfather hadn't left a will, he scrambled to get his hands on whatever he could. He started trying to act as a mediator between my mom and her siblings, eventually helping my mother secure the 2 properties and the money. This is where things get a little unclear for me since I wasn't allowed to be part of family meetings. But based on context clues, it seems Archie somehow convinced my mom to give him one of the houses, the one we weren't living in. He claimed, "I was like Grandpa's son, I deserve something." My mom's siblings called nonsense on that, and my aunt, who's a lawyer, didn't want Archie to receive anything, or even be involved in the meetings at all. But he kept weaseling his way in. My mother, exhausted from everything, eventually agreed to give him the property as long as he paid for the restoration himself. He agreed, and for a brief moment, everyone seemed satisfied. Archie got the house, but hired the same contractor my mom had hired to work on her house. I have no idea why the contractor agreed to take on both jobs at the same time, especially given the clear lack of manpower. What ended up happening was that Archie would go to his house at 12 p.m. and supervise the workers until around 4 p.m. Only after he left would they come to work on my mom's house. Because of how things were going, the deadline kept getting closer while the house remained a leaky, poorly ventilated mess. Ronnie, on the other hand, had an entire business plan in mind for my mom's $700,000. However, since the plan involved random stock trading, he had already lost a significant amount of money. My mom didn't want to invest with him. He pushed for a few months, but every time she turned him down. About 2 weeks later, it turned out that Archie was taking money out of the $700,000 in my mom's bank account. That was the final straw. She took the house back from him and kicked him out. Thankfully, my aunt hadn't finished processing the property transfer documents yet, so it was relatively easy for her to reverse the entire thing. Archie came back a few times demanding his so-called rightful share. It got so intense that I had to intervene to stop him from physically confronting my mother. He never actually hit her, but my mom was still shaken and scared of him after that. Yesterday, both Ronnie and Archie came over for what was essentially a final attempt to salvage what they could after Archie's outbursts. They ended up coming to an agreement. Archie, Ronnie, our youngest brother, the one in college, and I would each receive $60,000. My mom thought it would be easier to just give all of us an equal amount so no one would feel jealous or entitled. However, she made it very clear if anyone wanted more money, they would have to wait until she passed away. Archie was still upset about not getting more. He demanded that he receive his full cut of the inheritance right then and there. At that point, Ronnie just wanted to go home, and I was trying to study for entrance exams through all the yelling and dramatic crying Archie was directing at our mother. He kept using his children as an excuse for why he needed the money immediately, though apparently working for it wasn't an option. He shouted about how he wished Mom would pass away right then so he could get his inheritance. That was when Ronnie dragged him out of the house before he could do any real damage. Now, my mom has completely removed Archie from her will, with no chances of him getting back in. I'm still living with her for her safety, and she's currently looking into getting a security system to keep Archie out. Her bank account is secure now. She's put me in charge of monitoring it while she gets all her affairs in order. Story 6. Hey, y'all. This is my first Reddit post, so bear with me. A little backstory, I have ADHD, and I'm currently medicated for it. Back when I was in 3rd grade, I was not medicated, so let's just say, I was a little crazy. My mom had me transferred to a different teacher due to behavior issues, a teacher who she'd been told was a little stricter. My mom got way more than she bargained for. On to the story. After I was transferred to this new teacher's class, I was actually pretty enthusiastic. I always am when meeting new people, and I made at least 6 friends on the first day. But one of them was really awesome, and I got along with her the most. She actually turned out to be disabled. Remember her? I tried my best to behave, but alas, my hyperactive tendencies wouldn't exactly let me. The teacher gave an assignment, a group assignment, mind you, and told us to be absolutely silent. While I was hyperactive, I was also quite intelligent for my age, and if I thought a rule was really bad, I wouldn't follow it. The teacher was not having it. When I started speaking to my group, she stood up behind her desk, pointed at me, and screamed. Shut up, I did, but it shook me real hard. I had never been told to shut up by a teacher before. I was quiet for a while, but then I started talking again, and she told me that if I said another word, I would be walking laps at recess instead of playing with the other kids. I replied, "But ma'am, this is a group work thing." The next thing you know, I was walking laps on the track instead of playing. The teacher was watching me the whole time, and she would literally find something wrong with my walking every 5 seconds. If I wasn't walking too fast, I was walking too slow. If it wasn't that, my back wasn't straight. If it wasn't that, I was breathing too loudly, like she would actually and literally scold me for breathing too loudly. After recess, she referred me to the office for insubordination and being disrespectful. And get this, the principal would actually scold me for those things. He even gave me a note home. Now, you think this might be it? Nope. This teacher wasn't done with me. I came home that day very, very confused. However, the teacher kept the same kind of behavior going every single day. Eventually, I'd start coming home exhausted, and my mom would ask me how my day went, and I would reply, "Fine." One day, we had a checkup, and the doctor noticed my resting heart rate was super high. He asked me what was wrong, and I replied, "Nothing." He had a talk with my mom, and later diagnosed me with anxiety. My mom and the doctor suggested that I keep a journal, a diary to vent into. Mom bought me a composition book, and I poured secrets into it like a vault. This is where it gets serious. The teacher one day notices my vault book, that's what I called it, poking out of my backpack. She yelled, pointing at my backpack, "What is that?" Oh heck, I was thinking, it's really nothing, ma'am." I tried to put the notebook further into my backpack, but she came over and yanked my backpack out of my hands, dumped it out, and grabbed my vault book, reading it in a voice that was so loud, I kid you not, 6 different teachers came to the room and asked, "What's going on here?" But she just kept reading all my deepest, darkest fears and secrets out loud. At one point, my friend, who I mentioned at the beginning, says something. The teacher then stops reading and looks at her to ask, "What do you want?" My friend goes off like a bomb. She is usually quiet and calm, but she was really protective of me, so seeing her mad wasn't just a change, it was scary. My friend had that journal bought for him, and for him only. You have no right to read it to anyone. Can't you see he's scared you're reading it? Then, something absolutely unbelievable happened. The teacher fired back saying, "You have no right to speak to me that way, you disgusting little worthless piece of crap. You will sit silently for the rest of the class, and if I hear another word out of you, you'll be getting a note home." Everyone was silent. Except for the teacher obviously, she just kept reading without remorse. But I couldn't hear her, she just insulted my best friend. I literally wanted to throttle her, but she had, over time, intimidated me into thinking I was worthless. Now, finally, here comes the happy ending. Conference week rolls around. I'm absolutely terrified, and then my name gets called up on the intercom. As the teacher, my mom and I sit down at the table. My teacher wastes no time telling my mom what a worthless student I am. She'd say things like, "Clearly your son is not capable of being a productive student in any way. He refuses to learn," which was nonsense. She gave me F's on assignments that I passed perfectly, and, "He's the most ill-behaved little brat I've ever seen." At this, my mom gets upset, saying, "I'm sorry, but you have no right to." She cut off Mom and literally started to insult her. She told her that she wasn't capable of raising me right, teaching me correctly, or being a parent in general. We then have this eerie dead silence hanging over the room. My mom and I just sat there, completely stunned, and in my mom's case, at least 1,000 levels beyond angry. The teacher then pulls a suitcase from underneath the table and says the most unbelievable nonsense I've ever heard in my life. "Ma'am, your services are no longer required. I'll be replacing you and take your position as his mother, since you clearly can't raise him right." My mom just got up, took my hand, and said, "Have a nice day, lady." As we walked back to the car, we noticed that the teacher actually followed us. She even tried to get in the passenger seat, but my mom just stopped her with an ice-cold glare, saying, "No, go away." She got out, but her behavior didn't stop. In fact, she treated me with loathing for the next few weeks. One day, as she was in the middle of one of her, at that point, daily scream-at-me sessions, my mom walks in just as she starts swearing at me. The teacher turns around and says, "Oh, hello, witch." Then, my dad in uniform walks out from behind my mom, along with 3 cops and the principal, who was in handcuffs. As it turns out, the police had found incriminating evidence that this teacher and her husband, the principal, were planning to kill my friend and literally have me sold on the internet. However they thought that was going to work after the conference, you tell me. They of course got arrested, and my mom taught the class for the rest of the year, and, well, happily ever after.